Well, good afternoon, and I want to thank my colleagues all, but especially Joe Manchin and Susan Collins for leading us in this effort, and to the whole group, because what you've just heard, the description of ongoing conversations, Zooms, texts, emails, is an accurate one. And the agreement reflected in this stack of paper here is an extraordinary amount of work in a short amount of time. But of course, it is nothing in comparison to what our constituents are dealing with and how hard they are working to keep their families, their communities, their businesses afloat, and to keep their eyes on the future on this day when we are seeing the first vaccines in our country distributed. I want to talk about a couple of things that haven't been mentioned. While there is still work to be done on this joint package on liability protections and state, local, and tribal aid. There is also, though, agreement, and it is reflected in the $748 billion bill on aid to our schools and our colleges, and that reflects $82 billion worth of education funding, the majority of it going to our public schools K through 12. Also, some money going for higher education, both the institutions and the most in-need students, as well as a similar fund that you saw in the CARES Act to governors to give them some flexibility to help schools with COVID-related expenses. We have been hearing loudly and clearly from our educators about the challenges that they have not only now, either doing remote learning, in-person learning, or a mixture of the two, but we know that they are anticipating a reopening of schools where our children will not only have some learning gaps or lags to address, but some social and emotional issues to address as well. The challenges for America's schools moving forward are going to be considerable. They also represent opportunity for us to come together and recommit ourselves to our nation's children. But it's critically important that we address that now, and I'm pleased and so grateful to all of my colleagues for working on this with us. Senator Cassidy and I were dealing on the education funding, and as Senator Portman described, we also worked on the unemployment issue, and the whole group on state and local really worked very hard on the formulas that you see. I do want to just say on the liability issue, Democrats are concerned too about the very instances and examples that Senator Portman laid out. I think the differences we're trying to work through is that as we read the language, it just seems to go beyond the COVID situation and address some things that really have a broader impact and don't deal with COVID. So we just have to work this through. This morning, I spent about an hour doing a Zoom with leaders of New Hampshire's long-term care facilities, nursing homes. Everybody in masks, our VA medical center leaders who are deploying some of their personnel to support other nursing homes in our state as they are dealing with the ravages of COVID-19, a virus that one of them described as truly insidious. They are working as hard as they can to protect their residents and each other. They are having staff spend the night in the long-term care facilities so they don't bring COVID out to their communities, or they don't bring COVID from their communities into their long-term care facilities. Our people are working as hard as they can to solve the problems that are springing up moment after moment, day after day right now. The least they should expect from their elected representatives is that we follow their example and come together and solve problems. You can't care more about winning an argument than you do about solving a problem. And this group knows that and has worked really true to that goal throughout this process. And I'm very grateful to all of you.